I finalized an $18 million deal and rushed home, eager to surprise my wife. However, when I arrived, I discovered her in our bed with my former best friend. I didn't scream. I didn't argue. Instead, I took pictures and left. By the time the sun came up, she had lost everything. No money, no house, no future, and she still had no idea I'd been there. My name is Robert Parker, but everyone calls me Rob. I'm 45 years old and the owner of a software development company based in Austin, Texas. 22 years ago, I married Jessica, the woman I met in college. We have 3 children together. Brandon, 19, who just started his second year at Texas A&M, Emma, 16, a high school junior, and Noah, 13, who still thinks his father is his hero, or at least he used to. The day everything changed started like a dream. I was in Seattle, finalizing the biggest deal of my life. After 3 years of hard work, countless sleepless nights, and more coffee than anyone should drink, the moment had finally arrived. TechCore Industries wanted to license our enterprise security software for $18 million. $18 million. A sum that could change lives, secure college funds, set up retirement savings, and give you the breathing room you've always wanted. When the CEO signed the contract, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: pure, uncomplicated happiness. My business partner shook my hand so forcefully I thought he might break my shoulder. Champagne flowed, and congratulations filled the air, but all I could think about was Jessica. I immediately called her. The phone rang 4 times before it went to voicemail. "Hey babe, you won't believe what just happened," I said, excitement bubbling in my voice. "Call me back when you get this." I tried again an hour later. Same result. It was unusual, but not alarming. She was probably at the store or helping Emma with homework. Still, something felt off. That little voice inside you that you try to ignore, the one you don't want to listen to because you don't want to be the paranoid husband. Instead of staying in Seattle to celebrate, I booked a red-eye flight home. My partners tried to convince me to stay and enjoy the moment, but I brushed them off. "I've got something more important waiting for me in Austin," I told them. Little did I know how right I was, but not in the way I imagined. The flight was bumpy, but my mind was at ease. I kept imagining Jessica's reaction when I walked through the door a day early, her surprise, the joy, maybe even some tears of happiness. We'd finally opened that bottle of wine we'd been saving for a special occasion. I'd tell her about the deal, how we were finally secure, how she could leave her administrative job at my company if she wanted to, how we had made it. The Uber dropped me off at the end of our street around 11 p.m. Austin was quiet, the usual noise of traffic replaced by the soft chirping of crickets. I grabbed my carry-on and briefcase, giving the driver a generous tip because I was still floating on the cloud of that $18 million deal. Our house, a 2-story colonial with white columns, black shutters, and a wraparound porch, stood at the corner of Maple and Fifth. Jessica and I had bought it 12 years ago when the company was starting to turn a profit. It was home, but something was wrong. There was a car in the driveway that didn't belong there. A silver Audi A6, parked exactly where I usually left my truck. My steps slowed as I approached, my business mind automatically processing the details. It was a new model, maybe 2 years old, expensive. The license plate was unfamiliar. I stood there on the sidewalk, my carry-on in one hand, my phone in the other, staring at that Audi, wondering if it would explain itself. Jessica didn't drive an Audi. Neither did I. Emma was only 16 and drove an old Honda Civic. Brandon was away at college. None of our regular visitors had a car like this. Maybe it belonged to one of Jessica's friends from her book club. Maybe someone's car had broken down, and they had rented this one. Or maybe there was a completely reasonable explanation, one that didn't involve the cold feeling spreading in my chest. The house was mostly dark, except for a faint light glowing from our bedroom window. I pulled out my phone and tried calling Jessica again. Through the silence of the night, I heard my phone vibrating inside the house. Once, twice, 3 times. Then it stopped. She had declined my call. My throat tightened. I stood there, in my own front yard, briefcase in one hand, phone in the other, trying to convince myself I was being paranoid. 22 years of marriage, 3 kids, a life we had built together. She couldn't. But that Audi wasn't going anywhere, and every instinct in me was screaming now. I walked slowly toward the door, each step heavier than the last. My keys slid into the lock with a quiet click. The door opened soundlessly, its hinges well-oiled from when I had fixed them last month. The alarm didn't beep. Jessica hadn't set it, which was odd, because she always did before bed. Always. The living room appeared normal. Emma's backpack was by the stairs, and Noah's basketball shoes were kicked off near the couch. Everything looked exactly the same, except it didn't feel right. There was a man's jacket draped over the back of the recliner, brown leather, expensive looking. I walked over and picked it up, my hand steadier than I felt. The jacket was made of thick, high-quality material. I checked the inside pocket and found a wallet. For a brief moment, I thought about opening it to see who it belonged to, but I already had all the information I needed. I carefully placed the jacket back exactly where I had found it. Upstairs, a floorboard creaked. Someone was moving around in my bedroom. I stood at the foot of the stairs, staring up into the darkened second floor. Every instinct told me to charge up, flip the light switch, and confront the situation head-on. But something held me back. Maybe it was the businessman in me, the part that always weighs the risks before making a move. Or maybe it was fear of what I might find. I set my briefcase down quietly, then pulled out my phone and switched it to silent mode. I began making my way up the stairs, carefully stepping on the parts of the wood that didn't creak as loudly. Each step felt like it took an eternity. At the top of the stairs, our bedroom door was slightly ajar, just enough for a thin beam of light to spill into the hallway. I could hear soft breathing now, rhythmic and calm, the sound of two people sleeping peacefully. I pushed the door open slowly. It didn't make a sound. What I saw in that moment burned itself into my mind forever. Jessica was lying in our bed, her body wrapped around another man. His arm was draped over her waist, and her head rested on his chest. They looked content, as though they belonged together. For a moment, I was paralyzed, unable to move, to breathe, to think. This was my wife, the woman I had married 22 years ago, the woman who had cried tears of joy when I proposed, the mother of my children. And now, here she was, in our bed, with someone else. As the man shifted slightly, I got a clearer view of his face. My blood ran cold. Ryan Foster, my college roommate, my best friend from freshman year until we started our first company together. We had a falling out 10 years ago over business decisions, and we hadn't spoken since. And now, here he was, in my house, in my bed, with my wife. The betrayal crashed over me in waves. It wasn't just Jessica. It was both of them. Two people I trusted completely, two people who had meant everything to me at different points in my life. My grip tightened around my phone. Every muscle in my body wanted to explode, to throw Ryan out the window, to scream until my voice cracked. But I didn't. Instead, I raised my phone and snapped a picture. The flash was off, but the image captured everything. Another picture, and then one more. I needed evidence. Jessica shifted in her sleep, murmuring something I couldn't hear. I stood there for another moment, committing the scene to memory, engraving it in my mind so that I would never forget it, never let myself be fooled again. Then, I turned around and walked out of the room, closing the door silently behind me. I went back downstairs, picked up my briefcase and carry-on, and left the house I had worked so hard to buy, the house that was supposed to be the foundation of our family, our future. I pulled out my phone and opened my contacts. Found the name I needed. My attorney answered on the third ring, his voice groggy from sleep. "Rob, it's almost midnight. What's going on?" Daniel asked. "I need you to meet me at your office in 30 minutes, I said, my voice calm and cold. "I'm filing for divorce tonight." Daniel's office was in downtown Austin, located on the 15th floor of a glass tower that overlooked the Colorado River. By the time I arrived, he was already there, coffee brewing in the small kitchen, files spread across his massive oak desk. Daniel Chin had been my attorney for 12 years. At 53, he was sharp as a blade and had a reputation for being absolutely ruthless in divorce cases. I hired him initially to handle corporate contracts, but I'd heard the stories. When his clients went to war, they won. "Talk to me," Daniel said, gesturing to the leather chair across from his desk. He was dressed casually in jeans and a polo shirt, clearly in a rush, but his eyes were sharp, focused. I sat down and pulled out my phone, opening the photos. I slid it across the desk without saying a word. Daniel studied the screen without flinching. He'd probably seen worse. After a moment, he looked up at me. "Your wife, Jessica," I said, confirming. "And the man in the bed with her is Ryan Foster, an old college friend, a former business partner. Daniel nodded slowly, his fingers tapping rhythmically against the desk. Okay, do you want to fight this or do you want to win this? What's the difference? I asked. Fighting means lawyers, court dates, and everyone getting hurt. Winning means we execute this so perfectly that she doesn't see it coming until it's too late to do anything about it. Daniel leaned back in his chair. Do you still have that prenup we drew up before you got married? I almost forgot about the prenup. 22 years ago, when I was starting my first company, Daniel's predecessor had insisted on it. Jessica had signed it without much thought. We were young and in love, and we didn't think we'd ever need it. Yes, I replied. It's in our safe deposit box. Good. That's going to save us a lot of trouble. According to the agreement, if either spouse commits adultery, they forfeit any claim to the marital assets accumulated during the marriage. That means your company, your investments, the house, everything, remains with you. The cold, calculated tone in his voice matched the chill in my chest. What about the kids? I asked. Daniel's expression softened just a little. Brandon is 19, legally an adult. Emma is 16, and Noah is 13. In Texas, children their age can have a say in custody arrangements. But let's be real, Rob. Do you honestly think she's going to fight you for custody once she knows what you know? He was right. Once this came to light, once the kids understood what their mother had done, there wouldn't be any custody battle. It would only bring devastation. Here's the plan, Daniel continued, pulling out a legal pad and beginning to write. First, I'll file the divorce petition first thing tomorrow. Second, we're freezing all joint accounts, every credit card, every bank account with both of your names on it. She'll wake up to nothing. Won't that tip her off? By the time she realizes what's happening, the papers will already be filed. There's no stopping what's already in motion. Daniel looked up at me, his eyes serious. You sure you want to do this? Once we begin, there's no going back. I thought about Jessica, lying in our bed with Ryan. I thought about the 22 years I had spent building a life with someone who had been living a lie. And then I thought about my kids, who deserved so much better than parents who betrayed each other. I've never been more certain of anything in my life, I said. I spent the rest of the night in a hotel room near the airport, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything in my mind. Daniel had been quick. By 2 a.m., the divorce petition was ready to file. By 3 a.m., he'd contacted the banks with court orders to freeze our joint accounts. By 4 a.m., every credit card in Jessica's name was locked. The sun rose over Austin, painting the sky orange and pink. It was beautiful. I had always loved Texas sunrises. Jessica used to wake up early just to watch them with me when things were good, or perhaps when I was too blind to see they weren't good. My phone buzzed, a text from Daniel. Papers filed, accounts frozen. She'll know something's wrong by lunchtime. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my contacts and found Brandon's number. My oldest son deserved to hear this from me, not from his mother's frantic phone call. He answered on the second ring, his voice thick with sleep. Dad, what's up? It's like 7 a.m. Hey, buddy. Sorry to wake you. You got a minute to talk? I kept my voice steady, calm. No reason to panic him just yet. Yeah, sure. I don't have class until 9. What's going on? How'd the Seattle deal go? The deal went great. Actually, that's why I'm calling. I paused, choosing my words carefully. I came home last night to surprise your mom with the news. But when I got home, there was someone else there in our bedroom with her. There was a long, painful silence on the other end. Brandon, I know, he whispered. I've known for about 3 weeks. My grip on the phone tightened. You knew? I came home one weekend to pick up some stuff I'd left in the garage. It was a Saturday afternoon. Mom's car was in the driveway, and there was another car there too, a silver Audi. Brandon's voice shook slightly. I heard voices upstairs. I didn't want to believe it, but I knew. I'm sorry, Dad. I should have told you. The guilt in his voice nearly broke me. Son, this is not your fault. Do you hear me? None of this is on you. I just kept thinking, maybe I was wrong. Maybe there was an explanation. Then I thought about Emma and Noah and how it would destroy them if it was true. He let out a shaky breath. Who was it? The guy she was with? Ryan Foster, I said. You probably don't remember him, but he was my business partner years ago. We had a falling out. He's the one. Brandon was quiet for a moment. What are you going to do? I already did it. I filed for divorce this morning. Your mother's going to find out today that all the accounts are frozen. The house is going on the market. It's over, Brandon. Good, he said. The certainty in his voice surprised me. She doesn't deserve you, Dad. She doesn't deserve any of us. What about Emma and Noah? I need to tell them today before Jessica spins this into something it's not. I rubbed my eyes, exhaustion finally catching up with me. Can you come home? I could use the backup. I'm already packing, Brandon said. I'll be there in 3 hours. By noon, I was back in Austin, parked down the street from our house. Brandon sat in the passenger seat, his jaw tight with anger. We'd spent the drive from College Station talking everything through, and with each mile, I watched my son transform from a confused kid into a man who understood betrayal. You ready for this? Brandon asked. No, I said. But it's got to happen. I opened the car door. Let's go get your brother and sister. We walked up to the house together. The silver Audi was gone now. Ryan must have slipped out sometime during the night. I used my key to unlock the front door. Inside, Jessica was in the kitchen, still wearing her bathrobe, holding a coffee cup. She looked up when we walked in, and her face drained of color. Rob, you're home. I didn't expect you until tomorrow. Her eyes darted between Brandon and me. When did you get in? Last night, around 11. I replied, keeping my voice even, emotionless. Imagine my surprise when I found Ryan Foster in our bed. The coffee cup slipped from her hand and shattered on the kitchen floor. Rob, I can explain, she started. Don't, Brandon interrupted, his voice cold. Just don't. Mom. Jessica's eyes welled with tears. Brandon, honey, you don't understand. Your father was never home. I was lonely. Ryan and we just reconnected at the reunion. Save it, Brandon cut her off. I didn't come here to hear excuses. I came to tell you that I filed for divorce. As of this morning, every joint account is frozen. Every credit card in your name has been canceled. The house is going on the market next week. Her face went from pale to red. You can't do that. This is my house too. Actually, I can, I said, pulling out my phone and showing her one of the photos I'd taken. Read the prenup you signed 22 years ago. The one that says, if either of us commits adultery, we forfeit all rights to marital assets. This counts as adultery. Jessica stared at the photo, her hand over her mouth. Then, she looked at Brandon. You knew about this? Yeah, Mom. I knew. I've been carrying this weight for 3 weeks, trying to figure out what to do, Brandon said bitterly. Guess Dad figured it out for both of us. Where are Emma and Noah? I asked. Emma's at volleyball practice. Noah's at school, Jessica replied, her voice trembling. RA, please. We can work through this, she begged. 22 years of marriage, 3 kids. You can't just throw that away. I'm not the one who threw it away, I said quietly. You did. The moment you brought Ryan Foster into our bed. The front door opened, and Emma walked in, her volleyball bag slung over her shoulder. She stopped when she saw us. What's going on? She asked. This was the moment I had dreaded, telling my 16-year-old daughter that her mother had betrayed our family. But she deserved the truth. Emma, honey, we need to talk, I began. 3 days after I walked out, Jessica's world began to crumble. I knew because Daniel kept me updated on every development. Watching it unfold felt like justice being served on a silver platter. She tried to use the Visa at Target this morning. Daniel told me over the phone. Declined. Then she tried the MasterCard at a gas station. Also declined. What did you tell her? I asked. That she should have thought about that before sleeping with your ex-business partner. Daniel chuckled darkly. She hung up on me. Also, the eviction notice gets delivered today. I was staying in a furnished apartment downtown, close to my office. Brandon had moved in with me temporarily, taking online classes to be nearby. Emma and Noah were still at the house with Jessica, but they spent most of their time with me or at friends' places. The look in Emma's eyes when she learned the truth had broken something inside me. But she was strong, stronger than I had expected. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma. Mom's freaking out. Some guy just delivered papers about the house. She's crying and yelling. Can I come stay with you and Brandon? I texted back immediately. Pack your stuff. I'll pick you up in 20 minutes. When I pulled up to the house, Emma was already waiting on the porch with 2 suitcases. Jessica appeared in the doorway, her face blotchy from crying, still wearing the same clothes from the day before. You can't take her, Jessica said, her voice raw. She's my daughter too. Emma, turned to face her mother. I'm 16. Mom, in Texas, I get to choose where I live. And I choose Dad. Emma, please. Your father is poisoning you against me. He's making me out to be the villain when he was never here. He chose his business over his family. No. Emma cut her off, her voice sharp. You chose another man over your family. You brought Uncle Ryan into our house, into your bed. You lied to all of us. Don't you dare try to make this Dad's fault. I had never been more proud of my daughter than I was in that moment. Jessica's face twisted with anger. Rob, you're destroying our family. Is this what you want? To turn our children against me? I didn't turn them against you, Jessica. You did that all by yourself. I helped Emma load her suitcases into my truck. The courier should have delivered the eviction notice by now. You have 30 days to find somewhere else to live. 30 days? Where am I supposed to go? I have no money. No. She stopped, realization dawning on her face. You froze everything. The credit cards, the bank accounts, all of it. That's right, I said. You want to know why? Check the prenup you signed. The one that says if either of us commits adultery, we forfeit all claims to marital assets. The house is mine. The money is mine. The business is mine. You get nothing. This is illegal. I'll sue you. She screamed. You'll lose, I said calmly. Daniel's the best lawyer in Austin, and we have evidence, photos, dates, times. Your affair with Ryan has been going on for months, hasn't it? Maybe longer. Jessica's silence was enough of an answer. Have Ryan help you find a place, I said as I climbed into my truck. After all, he's the one you chose. As we drove away, Emma looked back at the house one last time. Is it weird that I don't feel bad for her? No, honey, I said quietly. It's not weird at all. A week after I filed for divorce, Ryan Foster finally worked up the courage to contact me. Not by phone or even a text. He sent an email to my work address at 2 a.m. like a coward. Rob, we need to talk. What happened wasn't planned. Jessica and I reconnected at the college reunion 6 months ago, and things just developed from there. I never meant to hurt you. Can we meet? I stared at that email for a full minute, feeling my blood pressure rise with each passing second. Never meant to hurt me. As if sleeping with my wife in my bed was some kind of accident. I forwarded the email to Daniel with a simple message. Can I use this as additional evidence? His response came back within minutes. Absolutely. He just admitted to a 6-month affair in writing. Keep him talking. So, I replied to Ryan. Fine. Lou's Diner on 6th Street tomorrow at noon. Come alone. The next day, I arrived 15 minutes early and took a booth in the back. Lou's Diner was an old-school Austin spot, with red vinyl booths and waitresses who'd been working there since the 80s. I ordered coffee and waited. Ryan walked in right at noon, looking like he'd aged 10 years. His face was gaunt, dark circles under his eyes. He spotted me and walked over slowly, like a man approaching the gallows. Rob, he said, sliding into the booth across from me. Thanks for meeting me. Cut the pleasantries, Ryan, I said. You wanted to talk, so talk. He fidgeted with the menu, not meeting my eyes. I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But I need you to understand that Jessica and we didn't plan this. It just happened. Things don't just happen, Ryan, I replied. You made a choice. Multiple choices. You chose to reconnect with my wife. You chose to pursue her. You chose to sleep with her in my house, in my bed. I kept my voice low and controlled, though every part of me wanted to lash out. How long have you been planning this? Since the falling out 10 years ago, he admitted. Was this revenge? No. God, no. Rob, I swear, when I saw Jessica at the reunion, I didn't even know she'd be there. We started talking, catching up. She told me how lonely she was, how you were always traveling for work. One thing led to another, and you decided my wife was fair game. I finished for him. Tell me, Ryan, does your wife know? Because Jessica mentioned at the reunion that you got married 5 years ago. Does Mrs. Foster know you've been cheating on her with my wife for 6 months? Ryan's face went pale. You wouldn't I? I pulled out my phone and showed him a contact name, Sarah Foster. I've got her number right here. One call, and your marriage is over too. Seems fair, doesn't it? Rob, please. Sarah's pregnant. We're expecting our first kid in 3 months. If she finds out about this, it'll destroy her. The irony wasn't lost on me. He was begging me not to destroy his marriage, while he'd helped destroy mine. Maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to screw my wife. Our waitress appeared, notepad ready. Can I get you boys anything? Just the check for the coffee, I said, not taking my eyes off Ryan. After she left, Ryan leaned forward, desperation clear in his voice. What do you want from me, Rob? Money? I'll pay you. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. You can't make this right, I said coldly. There's no amount of money that fixes what you did. You betrayed 20 years of friendship. You helped my wife betray 22 years of marriage. You destroyed my family. I stood up, tossing a $20 on the table. Stay away from Jessica. Stay away from me. Stay away from my kids. If I see you anywhere near us, I'm calling Sarah and telling her everything. Then I'm going to make sure your business partners know exactly what kind of man you really are. Ryan's face went from pale to gray. You'd ruin my career over this. In a heartbeat, I replied. Consider yourself lucky. I'm giving you a warning. I walked out of that diner feeling lighter than I had in days. Ryan Foster was out of my life for good. For months had passed since I walked out of that house and found my wife in bed with Ryan. For months of lawyers, paperwork, and rebuilding my life piece by piece. The divorce was finalized 3 weeks ago. Jessica got nothing, just like the prenup had specified. The house sold for above asking price. My company was thriving, with the TechCore deal bringing in steady revenue. I'd moved into a new place in West Lake Hills, a modern home with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the hill country. Brandon had his own room for when he came home from college. Emma and Noah had their rooms too, decorated exactly how they wanted. It was a fresh start for all of us. I was in my home office on a Saturday afternoon, reviewing quarterly reports when the doorbell rang. Emma was out with friends. Noah was at basketball practice. Brandon was at college. I wasn't expecting anyone. Through the front door's glass panel, I saw her, Jessica. She looked thinner than I remembered, her clothes hanging loosely on her frame. Her hair was pulled back into a simple ponytail. No makeup, dark circles under her eyes. For a moment, I considered not opening the door, but curiosity won out. I wanted to know what could possibly bring her here after everything that had happened. I opened the door, but didn't invite her in. What do you want, Jessica? Rob, please. I need to talk to you. Just 5 minutes. Her voice was different, smaller. Somehow, the confident woman I'd married had been replaced by someone I barely recognized. You've got 3 minutes. Talk. She looked past me into the house, seeing the life I'd built without her. Nice place. The kids told me you'd moved. 2 minutes and 50 seconds. Jessica's eyes filled with tears. I made a mistake. The biggest mistake of my life. I threw away 22 years of marriage. Destroyed our family. And for what? Ryan left town 2 months ago. Didn't even say goodbye. He just disappeared. She wiped at her eyes with the back of her hand. I'm living in a studio apartment in Pflugerville. I got a job as a receptionist at a dental office. I can barely afford rent. And you're telling me this because? I kept my voice flat, emotionless. Because I want you to know I understand now. I understand what I lost. What I threw away. She took a step closer. Rob, I know I don't deserve it, but I'm asking for another chance. We built a life together. We have 3 kids. Doesn't that mean anything? I looked at this woman who'd shared my life for over 2 decades, and I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no lingering love. Just emptiness where she used to be. You want to know what you lost? I said quietly. You lost a husband who would have done anything for you, who worked 80-hour weeks to give you the life you wanted, who loved you completely and trusted you absolutely. I pulled out my phone and showed her a photo. This is what you traded it for. A 6-month affair with a man who ran away the moment things got complicated. Jessica stared at the photo, the same one I'd taken that night. I know. I see it every time I close my eyes. Rob, please. No. I cut her off. You made your choice. You chose Ryan over your family. You chose temporary excitement over permanent commitment. And now you have to live with that choice. I stepped back, my hand on the door. The kids have my number. If they want to see you, that's their decision. But you and me, we're done. We were done the moment you brought another man into our bed. Rob, wait. Goodbye, Jessica. I closed the door. I watched through the window as she stood there for a long moment, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Then she turned and walked back to an old, beat-up Honda Civic parked at the curb. Not the luxury SUV she used to drive. Not the life she used to have. She made her choice. Now she was living with it. 9 months after the divorce was finalized, I found myself at a charity gala in downtown Austin. My business partner had dragged me there, insisting I needed to get out more, meet people, start living again instead of just working. "You can't hide in your office forever, Rob," he'd said. "You're 45, not 80. There's still life to be lived." So, there I was in a suit and tie, making small talk with potential clients and donors, when I saw her across the room. She was talking to a group of people near the bar, laughing at something someone had said. She had dark hair cut into a short, stylish bob. And when she smiled, her whole face lit up. "That's Claire Montgomery," my business partner said, noticing where I was looking. "She runs a nonprofit that provides tech education to underprivileged kids. Smart as hell and single. Divorced about 2 years ago." "I'm not looking for her." Yeah, you're not ready. I've heard it all before." He gave me a gentle push. "Go talk to her anyway. What's the worst that could happen?" So I did. I walked over, introduced myself, and we started talking about our nonprofits, about my company, about everything and nothing. The conversation flowed easily, naturally. No forced pleasantries, no awkward silences, just two people connecting. "So what brings you to these things?" Claire asked, sipping her wine. "You don't strike me as the gala type." "I'm not," I said. "My business partner forced me to come. Said I spend too much time working and not enough time living." I smiled. "What about you?" "This is literally my job," she said. "Schmoozing donors, convincing people with money that tech education matters." She glanced around the room. "Though, between you and me, I'd rather be home with a good book and my dog." "What kind of dog?" "Golden retriever. His name's Pilot. He's the only man in my life who hasn't disappointed me." She said it lightly, but I caught the edge of old pain in her voice. "I've got 3 kids who'd probably say the same thing about me being disappointing," I said, "though they're slowly coming around. Recent divorce, finalized 9 months ago." 2 years for me," Claire said. "He decided our marriage was less interesting than his 25-year-old assistant." Claire shrugged. "But honestly, best thing that ever happened to me. Forced me to figure out who I was without him." We talked for another hour, exchanging stories about failed marriages and fresh starts, about kids and careers, and learning to trust again. When the gala ended, I walked her to her car. "This was nice," Claire said, pulling out her keys. "I don't usually enjoy these events, but tonight was different. Would you want to have coffee sometime? No pressure. Just 2 people who enjoy talking to each other." She smiled. "I'd like that." 3 months later, Claire and I were dating exclusively. She'd met my kids, who actually liked her, which was a miracle in itself. Brandon approved. Emma thought she was cool. Even Noah, who'd been the most resistant to the idea of me dating anyone, admitted she was pretty okay. I wasn't rushing into anything. Neither was Claire. We both knew the value of taking things slow, of building something real, instead of just filling the empty spaces left by our ex-spouses. One evening, we were sitting on my back porch, watching the sunset paint the hill country in shades of orange and gold. Claire's head was resting on my shoulder, and for the first time in over a year, I felt completely at peace. "You know what the funny thing is?" I said. "A year ago, I thought my life was over. Thought I'd never trust anyone again, never be happy again. And now, Claire asked. "Now I realize Jessica didn't end my life. She just ended that chapter. This is a new chapter, and it's turning out better than I ever expected." Claire lifted her head and kissed me softly. "Here's to new chapters." I looked at this woman beside me, at the life I'd built from the ashes of my broken marriage, and my kids who were healing and growing stronger. Jessica had tried to destroy me, but all she'd really done was clear the path for something better. I'd won, not because I'd gotten revenge or because Jessica was struggling. I'd won because I'd survived, rebuilt, and found happiness again. And that was the best victory of all.